All right. Good evening, guys and ladies. If you're out there, really excited to have you here in the shop here in Canterbury, New Hampshire. And a special greeting to all those guys I met this past weekend at Weekend with Wood, a great event put on by Wood Magazine that I had the pleasure of being a part of. And it just about wore me out. But I'm back in the shop and glad to be here, and I'm glad you're there. But tonight, what we're going to talk about is what I consider, pound for pound, the most effective tool in the tool cabinet. And someone asked me the other day, what's your favorite tool? And I thought it was a little boring to say the card scraper, but that's what I said. And I think it is because it's so minimalist and so direct. I can't think of a simpler tool. It's just a piece of steel, a cutting edge that is so direct and effective in cleaning up a surface to get you quickly leveled or closer to the sanding stage. But it's not effective unless you know how to tune it up. And I know I struggled with this when I first started, and I remember watching a video by Frank Klaus back in the 80s, and that actually got me going on how to tune this up. So my method is similar to his, but I've made a few little changes over the years. And I'm going to actually show you a couple different ways to turn the edge. Now, I know it can be frustrating. It's something that may not come right away. You might not get instant success, but it just takes a little practice and a little feel, and before you know it, you'll be producing beautiful shavings with this fine, almost nothing tool. But let's just pretend this one just came out of the box, and it is pretty new. It's I don't even know what it says, Baco. It's made in Sweden. I don't really have great advice for you on which ones to buy. It's usually you get what you pay for, but I know they come in different sizes and they come in different thicknesses. So the very thin ones are lighter. They're made for nice light cuts. The thicker ones, I mean, you can even make them out of saw blade steel, like hand saw steel. I remember when I was apprenticing with Pug Moore in North Carolina, he had a few around the shop like that the guys had resourcefully created. But this is kind of your average middle-of-the-road card scraper. Some of them are even rounded. This is a nice French curve type that's great for getting into coves. And this is one of the lighter type. It's thin. It's a little different size. And then you have the style that might have a cove, and this would be for convex surfaces or getting into a corner or something. I don't use that one so much. And this is out of a saw blade that was actually ground for cleaning up between reeds. So they're very, very resourceful. You can actually customize them to make them your own. But what I want to talk about tonight is the average card scraper. And they go for about $10, so you really can't go wrong. But when it comes out of the box, it's ready to tune up, but it doesn't yet have the all-important burr on the edge. So I'm going to take this as if you're resharpening it or taking it out of the box. You don't have to go quite so aggressively if it just came out of the package, but I'm going to work it like you would if you were tuning it up and you had used it a few times, it started to get dull, and now you've got to tune it up. So what we're going to do is try to create a dead flat surface on this thin narrow edge that is 90 degrees on this corner and 90 degrees on that corner, and really sharp and clean. That edge we want really sharp and clean all the way down. And we'll do it to the same to the other side, because once we push our burr over, we're going to have 4 great cutting edges. We'll push one this way, this way, this way, and this way. So you'll have a very nice, effective tool for a good little while. Now, just just to make that clear, I'm going to just draw this. This is like the end view of the card scraper. So imagine this is a magnified shot of it, and you're looking at it out in the distance. This corner, we want just dead 90, and this should be really polished and clean and sharp. So that's what we're going to do to shape this up. Right now, it's been used, so if this were the corner, it's actually slightly rounded and beat down a bit on this corner. So we want to reshape this to tune it up nice and sharp. Okay, to do that, I'm going to take it to the vise. And I just need a good file, like a bastard file that has a good rough. You can use either the coarse or the finer. I'm getting a good cut with this finer surface, so I'll use that. Now, I'm holding this as true to 90 as I possibly can. Now, I'm a seasoned professional, so that's very easy for me. No, I'm just kidding. I am just kind of used to it. I'm trying to hold it as horizontally as I can. Now, I should say something about the gadgets that are out there. You can buy these little kits that will simplify this process. I haven't used a lot of them, but some students have come to classes with them. They have a plastic-like housing, and for this step, inside the housing, there's actually this file. And so when you hold it straight on and just rub it on the top, you're getting a good 90-degree surface. So I got nothing against those. If that works for you, by all means, go for it. But you don't have to buy that gadget. This works quite well. I'm going to just run it. So I'd hit that until I feel like I've flattened out that surface. I'm trying to more aggressively get this card scraper to the point where we can hone that edge. Nice. Now I can see how rough it is, but I can feel how I beat it down a bit. And now I need to further polish and refine that nice true 90 all around. So for this, I like to use diamond stones. This is where I've gone away a little from Frank Klaus's method. He had a water stone, and I've used that, but you're going to put this card scraper up on edge, so it's actually going to wear into a water stone pretty rapidly. This is better, I find, because it's dead flat. These diamond stones don't dull up, and they don't go out of flatness. So this is the one I've used for a long time. It's 1,000 grit. You can pick up one just like that. But this DMT is pretty nice because it has an aggressive face here. It's a red dot. It's around 600 grit, and then the green side is around 1,200. And it's a larger plate, so it makes it a little easier. Okay, so now I'm going to hold this at my true 90 and polish it up a little more. Now here's a little tip. When you're doing this, it's hard to hold it just on a 90 by itself. But if you bend the card scraper a little bit, it's much more stable. So that's all I do here. I give it a bend, and I know it's being held right at 90. I'll flip it over. Same thing. Now I'm going to lay flat and just knock that little bit of a burr off that's being formed by the sharpening here. Now some people, and you can do this, if you have a nice fine file, you can go right from the file to turning the burr. There's all different attitudes about this. There's no like dead right way, but what I'm telling you is really the main point, is to create a nice sharp corner, all four corners. So I've already hit it both sides on the 600. Now I'm going to go a little finer. I'm bending it again, polishing it up nice. Gotta get my glasses for this. So that surface is looking nicely polished. I'm checking to see that I've removed all the file marks from the last step. I'm just going to hit it one more time. Okay, that's nice. Now, as a little added step, I like to just quickly hit it on the 4,000 grit stone. Now this is a water stone, so I'm going to go lightly. Again, I'm flexing. The card scraper, I'm not personally flexing while I'm doing this. You could if you want to impress your friends, but I'm just keeping it light. And wow, now I'm seeing a really nice polished edge. I don't know if you can zoom in on that. We've got this new camera system here. I don't think so. Pretty close. Just trust me. It's looking good. So that's all you want to do is lay it down. I'll just touch it one more time lightly. And when I'm doing this, I usually have 2 or 3 at a time. It's just easier to go through the repetitious stage. And you're a little better use of time, more effective to quickly get them done. Now, right now, I have the target that we were shooting for. That nice polished surface, and it's sharp. If you felt that edge, it is sharp, all 4 corners. But there's no burr. It's just a dead flat kind of corner, but it's really crisp and clean. That's what we're after. All of it is nicely polished. It's at this point you're ready to turn the burr. When you get it out of the package, when you first buy it, it is already true and square. You might want to just hit it on 4,000 or something like that. But take a look at it, see what you need to do to it, but you don't have to apply the file when you first get it. Okay, so what do we do now? We're going to push this burr over. This is the point that a lot of people have a little trouble with to start out, but I'm going to show you 2 methods, and I guarantee you one of these is going to work. But here's a card scraper that I've already tuned up and squared just like that. This is one of my older ones. You can see it's got Sharpen. It was this size to begin with, but over those micro sharpenings as time goes by, that's what happens. It's turned into a nice little kind of detail scraper, and I don't know how long I'll go with it. I'm going to just keep going as long as I can. But the first thing you want to do is hone the edge, and for this, you want to have a little bit of mineral oil. This is just simple, inexpensive mineral oil from the grocery store. The stuff you drink when your stomach is really bad. Okay, so we've got that on here, and now I've just got a little piece of MDF. And what I'm going to do is first lay this burnisher, which I should say something about right now. The burnisher is the thing you need to push over this burr. What we're going to do is use this hardened steel. The burnisher is just a hardened, polished steel. So with just some force on this corner, with the burnisher slightly angled up, we're going to push over that burr so that this corner is going to get a nice, we're going to be pushing the burnisher this way, and this corner will get a tiny little hook sticking out like that, and a tiny little hook. It's really small. I mean, you can just barely feel it. But that'll go down the whole length of the edge, and that's the cutting edge. That allows you to get some really nice shavings. But before we push the burr this way, I'm going to just stroke the burnisher flat on here. And what that will do is kind of draw out the edge slightly. I'll be crushing down and it'll push this softer steel just out slightly, and it'll ready it to push a nice burr back. So this, you want to just hold the burnisher flat, but press on that edge, keeping it flat. Okay, so this steel in the card scrapers is soft enough that this works really well. It has to be soft enough so you can push the burr over with the hardened steel burnisher, but not so soft that the burr doesn't last some time using it. So that's the sweetness of this tool. The metal is just right for this. So I'm going to hold it flat, and I'm just kind of stropping it, almost like to kind of hone and polish that edge and get it ready to turn the burr. You want to do all 4 sides like this. I already did this side. I started to push the burr, so I'm not going to hit that one. But all 4 sides get that little bit of a draw out. And now I'm going to hold this down, and I'm going to use the Frank Klaus method, which is been pretty good for me over the years. And you're not going to see because my hand's going to be off the table. But all I'm going to do is press this card scraper down flat, hold it down, and I'm going to tilt the burnisher just a few degrees. I can't tell you how much. It's just a feel thing. It may be 5 degrees, maybe 10 at tops, and I'm going to just push with some firmness. You don't have to go super hard, but just nice and even, and I don't want to stop. That's where the mineral oil is good, because it allows you to make a nice smooth swipe. I'll just do 2 or 3 strokes like that, and then I'll have created the burr. So let's go with that. I'm going to flip. Same thing. So now I'm leaning on that other corner. I'm going to have 4 good edges. Okay, I can feel a nice burr on all 4 sides. I'm going to just wipe that off and set it aside for a second. Now that's the old method I've been using for a long time. Thanks to Frank. Thank you, Frank. Never met you. Oh, yes, I did meet you one time. But I never told him about that. Now, I'm going to show you a different method. This is a little bit easier, I think, to start out with, to push over the burr than holding it down and doing it that way. You're going to still need the mineral oil, so we'll go ahead and get that on there. There we go. And I'm going to clamp it in this vise. But once I clamp it in the vise, we're going to push the burr over and then flip it and push the other burr over. Obviously, I'd be crushing the burr, so I need like a little spacer here. And these work great. This is just a magnet, a refrigerator magnet, an old Patriot schedule from last year. Don't hate me because I like the Patriots, guys. But it's hard not to when you live in New England. And now I'm going to put one on one side and one on the other. And that's going to give me a nice spacer and hold it out well to push this burr over. So I'm going to grab it with just about a 1/2 inch sticking up. Now it's essentially the same thing. The burnishing tool is going to push over the burr, but now I'm on top of it, so I'm going to just slightly raise this so I'm pushing it down like that. Here we go. You don't have to kill it. It's definitely happening. I can feel it. I'll come this way, do the same thing back the other way. Nice. So now we just flip. Back the other way. Oh, you know what? I forgot to draw the edge out, but I think it'll still work. You know, that flat step right before we hit it. It's still going to work, but that helps a little bit to draw it out. I can feel I've got a burr, so we're in good shape. Now I'm going to wipe this off the oil. And, you know, you don't even have to take these magnets off. I've seen this as a tip and have used it a few times myself. If you've used a card scraper and you've used it a lot, you know how it can burn your thumbs. It can generate so much heat that your thumbs start to get hot and you have to stop for a second. But with these magnets on there, it's like an insulator and you'll never feel it. So it's a nice added feature. I'm going to just leave them on for this. Now we're going to try it out. Let's see how we did. I've got some interesting test pieces to try it on. And we'll try both of them. Here's my Frank Klaus method and in the vise method. Let's just take, this is a nice piece of curly maple. It's soft curly, but you know how it can be. Sometimes you'll get some tear out in the waviness where the grain is switching through the waviness. I don't know if you can pick that up with the camera, but we have a wild kind of gnarly curly area right here. So I'm going to start out with the Frank Klaus one on this and see how this goes. You can see we're getting nice shavings in this really difficult area, and it's just turning polished and burnished. So you get these nice kind of wispy shavings. Let's try the other one. Oh, I wanted to mention, when you're using the card scraper, you're going to lean it over until you almost like feel the most resistance. That's when the burr is catching. Let's get this out of the way. So you can see this one's working fine as well. I've got it up at a nice angle. I'm starting to see this kind of iridescent depth and clarity. It's beautiful. So there'll be very kind of little bit of sanding to do this. Have a question?
Do you need to go in opposite directions on each edge when you turn the burr over?
No, you don't. Oh, the question was, do you need to go in opposite directions when you turn the burr over? And I think that's because I went from one side in the vise and then I turned from the other side. I was actually just using my same right hand. I like to push down and out. So you see the burnishing tool is actually pushing as it's rubbing all the way along. So I'm right-handed, so I'll just come from the side and I'm raising up my right hand and I'm pushing from each direction, just to roll that burr in each direction. Good question, Eric. Now I'm going to try it on something else. Let me show you. This is a wild figure of curly maple, and that looks gorgeous. You can't really, I don't know if you can really pick that up. Another place that card scrapers really shine is tuning up joints that don't quite come flush when you've created them. Now this is actually one of the sides from the current live stream project we got going on with the swing. And it's white oak, and when you make your joints, you know, you lined them up, you tried to get them just right, but you always have like a little bit of a step. So this is where a card scraper is so invaluable. You know, when I first started out, I thought, oh, I know how to get that. And I had like an orbital sander, and I was at Pug's shop, and he didn't have a lot of orbital sanders around, but I thought I was bringing in some new technology that was really going to advance his techniques. So I started grinding away on a chair where the front leg met the two rails. And you know, it got to feel beautiful. It was polished. It was so silky. But then later on, when we got the finish on it, and I saw it at a long angle, it was dished out, as you would expect. I had worked it so hard that I created like this dished out area rather than a flat, true plane. The beauty of the card scraper is you refine and you maintain that nice plane with great control. So this edge is a little high. I'm going to use it diagonally across this joint so that it is supported well, rather than like this. I would be dropping off into the corner. So I'm going to come in and diagonally, nice little sweeping motions. That is just perfect. So now all I would do is hit it with a palm sander, just 220, and it would be there. I'll check this joint here. It's the similar shape. Just nice little sweeping motions diagonally. And there it is again. Nice. Might as well get some work done. Again, I'm going diagonally here. See those nice shavings? Just sweet. White oak will really work well. This corner we already did in the live stream, and we made a peg for it, which I still have to apply up here and here and here. But this has been a really fun project, this swing. We have just one more week to go. If you're interested in that, you can catch it. It won't be live, but you'll get the exact same videos. Now, one more piece I want to show you is walnut. This, to me, this is the ultimate exotic wood. Now, isn't that an awesome plank? I think I had plans to make a top out of this, and I know I'm going to use it at some point. Has tremendous, beautiful crotch grain figure here, but there's this knot that's difficult to work with. I have filled it previously with epoxy. I've got a little more to do, and that's really the best way to stabilize when you have a gap like that. This one actually goes right through, I think. Yeah, there it is. So this would need to be epoxied, and then it has to be colored and leveled. But I just want to show you how well a card scraper will work on this kind of crotch figure. We've seen it on curly. We've seen it on cross-grain joinery. And now we can check it out on this crotch figure. Let's check it out. This is using the one that we did in the vise. I'm feeling that resistance and just pushing it out. Now, if I start to feel it get dull, I can flip. People often ask me, how long does a card scraper last? Well, it's really just a function of how hard you've been working it. Like if it's hitting grit, like if there's sand or something in the material, it's not going to last real long. You can also come both ways here. But you'll feel it when it starts to be ineffective. It's time to tune it up again. But, you know, they last for you can get a good area cleaned up before you start losing it. Here's the other one that I used the other method, and I'm leaning this down. I'm getting a nice shaving there as well. Look at that. I want you to see this grain. This, to me, is the most beautiful Native American hardwood there is. But I'm going to just splash it with a little paint thinner, bring it up a bit. This will simulate what it would look like with finish on it. Look at that. You gotta love walnut. You know, if we lived in another country, this would be like an imported exotic. It would probably be $15 a foot. It is pretty expensive now, but isn't that beautiful? So what's great is you can use this tool to control and to work highly figured surfaces like that. Even in veneered situations, you can lightly scrape with great confidence once you turn that burr. Got a question? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All kinds of veneer. I've even used it on finishes. Like if you put a heavy sealer on, you can actually card scrape very lightly a heavy sealer and then sand if you have a lot on there and you're trying to fill the grain or something with the sealer. Any other questions? All right, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you have some great success with the card scraper. Pound for pound, the most effective tool in my cabinet. I hope to see you again, and take care until next time.